Spring and Fort Worth Representative Matt Krause, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's begin with your reaction to what you saw at the convention.
Yeah, I thought it was an extremely strong 4 days for the RNC. I thought they laid out a vision that is much different than what you saw the week before at the DNC. And I think you see the contrast, the clarifying lines of what is at stake in November 2020. So I think it was a really good week for the Republicans. I think we've got a strong record and a strong position to run on. And I think the lead up until November 3rd is going to be very strong for Republicans.
Representative Krause, the race in Texas, according to polls between Biden and Trump, it's a close race, a dead heat, some polls show. How confident are you that Trump can hold Texas, a state that a Democrat hasn't won since 1976, Jimmy Carter over Gerald Ford?
Yeah, that's right. And that's a great question. I think what you saw a lot is the race tightening, especially in Texas over the summer months. We were in the heat of the protests. We're in the heat of everything going on. There was the pandemic still going on. So any incumbent president, I think, was going to do pretty poorly in those polls. I think what you're going to start seeing is people start seeing the choice between Biden and Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and Mike Pence and what the two parties stand for. You're going to start seeing that lead widen in Texas for Donald Trump, and you're starting to see a lot of the battleground states actually close in. And so even Beto was saying the other day, the Biden team hasn't put in the money, material, resources to actually compete for Texas. The Democrats know they probably can't get there this time, and I think we're going to see more and more evidence of that in the next couple of weeks.
Representative Krause, the Democrats do feel, though, that they can get 9 seats, 9 state house seats, the 9 they need to take control of the Texas House. A lot of that, you know, the road to that goes through Tarrant County. You're one of the representatives being targeted. Can the Democrats, you think, come all the way back and take control of the House this cycle?
You know, it would pretty much have to be a replay of 2018 for that to happen. And you're right, the other side is excited and they're enthused about the idea. But they won 12 seats last time. I don't think they get the 9 seats this time. 2020 is so much different than 2018. People point to the fact that Beto barely beat Ted Cruz in Tarrant County in 2018. But I can guarantee you the Beto of 2020 could not win Tarrant County. And so there's a lot of differences between those two election cycles. I think we're going to continue to see the Republicans gaining strength as we head into November, especially with some of the extreme contrast that we're seeing play out in the streets of some cities in America right now. And people are going to look at that and say, you know what, I just don't think the Democrat Party can do a good job of keeping us safe.
And I'll just quickly add, you are running against Democrat Lydia Bean in November. All right, Joe.
Let's turn again to Tarrant County and COVID. A mask mandate has been extended until December. Your reaction to that?
Well, you know, I think we always need to be listening to the health experts and seeing what they're saying, but we also need to continue to enforce personal responsibility and to encourage that. So I'm not sure if we've seen any indication that the mask mandates are working, but I think it's incumbent on every individual to use their own judgment, to use masks when it's appropriate. And if that does lessen the spread at all, I think it's a good thing for Tarrant County residents to do on their own.
Does it? Do you feel like it lessens the spread, Representative? Should people be wearing masks?
Well, again, I think you can see a study that says they do. You can see a study that says they don't. For me, what the position I've taken is if it can lessen it at all, and I have the power and the ability to do that simply by wearing a mask in the places that I go, I'm going to do that. And so I think we should be encouraging everybody, if at all possible, wear that mask, continue to social distance if you can. We want to continue to keep the economy open and going and people back in their jobs. And again, for me, the calculus is maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but if it does even a little bit, I'm willing to wear that mask for my fellow citizens out there.
Representative, what's the biggest budget challenge facing the legislature when it reconvenes next year coming out of this, with this COVID-19 pandemic raging?
Yeah, I think it's the budget, just all told, because we've seen unprecedented hits to not only our economy, but we've seen some major disruptions in the oil and gas economy as well. And that always tends to drive what the budget in Texas is doing. So that's education, that's healthcare, that's transportation, that's criminal justice, all the things that we use our budget for. All of those things have been impacted because of the pandemic and then what's happened with oil and gas at points in 2020. And I think it's going to be a very interesting, in some ways, a very tough session on the budget. But I'm encouraged with Jane Nelson in the Senate, Giovanni Capriglione in the House, chairing those finance committees and appropriations, that we're going to be able to figure out a way to fund everything that we need to fund going forward.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, if it's going to be a tough session, how do you fund everything you want to fund? And if you can't, what do you see being cut?
Oh, and that is a great question. And last session, we were flush with cash. And so we could kind of fund everything we wanted to fund. This time, there's going to be a lot of hard discussions, a lot of hard decisions, because every place you cut, you're impacting somebody's life or livelihood in some way. But the state only has so much money. I think we've done a good job in the past of resisting efforts to use that rainy day fund money that we have for one-time expenditures not one-time expenditures and things like that. I'm glad we have that money there now, and I think that's going to go a long way to shoring up some of the deficiencies we have because of what we faced in 2020.
Representative, in the short time we have left, we're both baseball fans. Globe Life Stadium is open. Rangers, the Cubs, they're playing. What do you think about sports coming back? And I know we don't have fans, but is that something that you've been able to grab hold to and enjoy?
That's right. Just like you, Gromer, I'm a huge sports fan. I love watching those athletes play at the highest level. And there is even talk about the World Series being held at Globe Life Park.
Oh, wow.
So we may yet still have some big games in HD 93 in the coming weeks and months. But I think sports has always been a good unifying force for our culture. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you believe, how much money you make. You can get along with somebody who cheers with your sports team. And so I'd love to see our sports professional teams continue to play at a high level and do what we can to bring people together, not tear people apart.
World Series in North Texas. That sounds good, Julie.
That's right. Let's bring it. Yeah.
Representative Matt Krause, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you, and we'll be back with more Lone Star Politics.